Okay, so this is TBC Abundant Life. We're going to do some role plays about how to speak to a pastor or an imam of a mosque or any leader of a faith-based organization. So I will be playing the role of said pastor, and our team here are going to be doing the role play itself. So let's start with either Nathaniel or Sohaib. Uh, who wants to be my first participant? It's all good if you mess up. All right, pick.
Go, Steve.
All right, Mary Lou says Sohaib. All right, we're going with you.
Go.
Okay.
All right, so I'm the pastor, and you're gonna, or I can be an imam too. I just don't know as much about how the structure of the mosque is. Um, so, because you'll probably be going for that. Yeah, I'll play an imam. I'll do my best there. With what I know about the culture and everything like that. So go ahead. Basically, start the conversation with me, and then we'll just go from there. Your intention is to, set up a time to go into more details with the presentation about everything we're doing in regards to United for Food, and essentially bring me into the community here.
I probably have to brush up and but let's see what I can do. You mean to set them up to the webinar, to the Zoom
presentation? Yeah, to a Zoom presentation. Yeah.
Honestly, I wouldn't know how to. I'd probably be nervous.
All right. All right. So Nathaniel, how about you give it a shot?
I wouldn't even know how to start, but I'll do my best.
All right, just go for it. So I'll be a pastor there, and then you're calling me up, and then you're gonna try and bring me into United for Food, and everything like
that. Okay.
Cool.
Hi, Pastor Anoop.
Hey, how's it going?
Oh, it's going great. You have a couple of minutes. I really want to talk to you about this life-changing thing that I came across the other day.
Yeah, I mean, I got a few minutes. I'm pretty busy, but I got a few minutes to hear you out.
Awesome. So have you ever heard about United for Food?
No, I don't think I know what that is.
So essentially, it's this program that's pretty much being started up, or has been going on for a couple of years, about 5 years, if I'm not mistaken, by this, I'd probably call it this missionary group, or like this group that basically wants to help out people around the world. It's not like a cult. It's not one of those secret societies or anything. I came across them the other day, and I believe that it might even, if you were to participate in it, Pastor, like with the church, I believe that it could impact a lot more lives, even if it's not, even if it didn't originally in the church, this church.
Okay, that's kind of interesting. So what actually is going on there? Like, what are you guys doing?
So essentially, United for Food, it's done other missionary works in the past, but right now what it's doing is it's building food distribution centers around the world, and it's also distributing this very unique currency that helps people pay for their food half in the local currency, or the currency native to the excuse me. Sorry about that. So it helps people pay their food bills. Sorry, essentially what they do is they build distribution centers around the world. When they have at least 1,000 members or more in a certain city, and it helps people pay half. It helps people pay their food bill half in their local currency and in cash, and in turn, it helps them save a lot of money on food, and they get to be part of this local currency, which essentially is a real currency, and it might level out the financial future for people who invest in said currency.
That sounds interesting, but honestly, it's probably not something my congregation would be too interested in. Seems a little weird, you know. But I appreciate your time, you know. Thanks for sharing it with me, but it's probably not a good fit for my community here, my congregation.
All right, Pastor, before I let you go, can I mention something?
Sure.
This foundation, the foundation of this this group, it was built upon, I wouldn't necessarily say Christian principles, but I'd say godly principles. You know, in the Bible where it says, I don't remember the exact words of the verse, but it said, "You did not clothe me, you did not feed me, you did not give me shelter." Have you ever read those words?
I'm playing a role of a pastor, so yeah, I kind of know what you're talking about there.
And it says, when you did this to me, to at least one of these, you did that to me as well. So it's not necessarily just about speaking the word of God, Pastor. I mean, I know we have our church. I know we evangelize. I know we sometimes give out food where it's allowed anyways here in the city. But this group it's peaceful with all governments. So they actually have sort of the, maybe not necessarily the authority, but the permission to do so. And I believe we should like serve God, not just inside of the church, but outside of the church as well. Would you like me to, you know what, to be honest, I'm not the best person to explain this to you. I could have my friend explain it to you, the one who introduced me to this pastor, to see if you'd be interested in this or not.
I mean, I do have a lot of questions, but at the same time, I'm busy. So it's probably just something that we won't be looking to do.
I see. Right. Well, if you're ever curious about it, then you can just bring it up again, and I'll be more than happy to explain it. And by that time, I'll have a lot more knowledge and be able to put it into practice a lot more to be able to show you.
All right, man. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir.
All right. No, so we'll switch roles here. There's a lot you can definitely clean up there. But we'll switch roles, and then basically you'll play the pastor there, and I'll be the United for Food rep. And then we'll go over what you did and what I did and how that's different. Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be realistic based on what I've seen in my own church. So how the authorities speak about current cryptocurrency and whatnot.
Yeah,
Just
everything.
an
Bring it on.
example.
Let me show you how it is, and then we'll go from there. Okay. So now don't bring in any background knowledge that you have. Just bring in your perspective from what the church wants to say. All right.
I'm sorry, Anoop, you cut off. Can you say that again? Sorry.
No worries. I said don't bring any background knowledge that you already have. So like if I don't mention the currency, don't bring up the currency. You know what I'm saying? Because you wouldn't know about it. So only respond to exactly the information I'm giving you. Not
Right. Right. Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, so I'm calling you up, or let's say I'm in person. So hey, Pastor Matt, you are the pastor of the head pastor of this church, right?
Right. Yes, for this specific branch. How can I help you?
That's cool. So yeah, I'm actually an economic developer with and we're going around the city talking to pastors of churches, and kind of presenting them with an offer in regards to a humanitarian organization that we're building in the city here. Do you have like 2 to 5 minutes of time where I can real quick?
Well, this is the main church in, say what, New Jersey, but to be honest, I'd have to talk to the higher up administration overseas. I mean, it sounds interesting, but I just can't make decisions like this without consulting my higher ups.
That's fine. Let me just give you some information real quick, and then I'll get your feedback just based on what you've heard from me, and then we can go forward to where scheduling a informational session with your higher ups there and talk to them about what we're doing. That way they have information as well. But basically what we're doing is we're building food centers in town here, Now you said this is New Jersey, so we're looking to build a food center here in Jersey, where basically our community members will be able to come and shop for food at half cost, right? They'll be able to buy name brand food products that they would normally want to buy anyway at half cost in cash. So let's say there's a can of soup that you'd normally buy for $1 at the regular grocery store. At our center, they'd be paying 50 cents in cash for that can of soup. Now, basically, what I'm asking you is, do you think your congregation and also the international congregations as well, since you said you are part of an international organization there, do you think the congregations across the board would be interested in the opportunity to have and help their congregations reduce their food bills in half?
Okay, let me just stop pretending that I'm a pastor. So to make this a lot easier, why don't I just pretend that I'm like at the main headquarters and whatnot? So I'll just.
No, I mean, it's fine. It's fine the way you have it. Honestly, it's better that way. Let's just keep going with that because it makes it
Okay.
more. Yeah.
So how exactly do people do this? How does it work? Do you have to apply for a special program, or I'm just curious what's going on?
So basically, what we do is our requirements are anytime we have a density of 1,000 individuals in a particular area, in a particular town, we'll go ahead and build a food center there that those individuals can come and shop at, right? So my question for you is, what is the average membership of your congregations, both nationally and internationally? Just a ballpark figure. It doesn't need to be exact there.
You want me to estimate how many members we have?
Yeah, just give me a number.
I couldn't say. So I don't know. I'll just say 1 million.
Okay, 1 million total, but what I'm kind of asking is like how many at each individual church? Like what would you say is the average number at each church? Just kind of a ballpark figure for the sake of the conversation.
Well, for the sake of the conversation, I'd probably say, what, 200?
200, okay. Yeah, so like I said, we do need 1,000 in a town, so 200 alone wouldn't be sufficient enough to build a food center just from the congregation itself. However, the reality of it is all of those 200 people know, 10 to 50 people that would also be interested in what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So getting to 1,000, actually getting to 1,000 itself is not a difficult task. Can you see how that would work?
Yeah, I see. And some churches we have like probably more, but that's the like modal figure.
Yeah. So essentially, that's what we're doing. We're building partnerships with churches. And actually, something that's interesting is, so in order to have access to our food centers, the individual members of the church who want to, they do have to pay essentially a membership style fee, right? And that fee is either $300 a year or $30 a month. Of course, they're able to buy up to $400 worth of food a month, which will cost them $200 in cash. So their net cash savings is $200 in cash, $100 in food, and it's only costing them $300 a year or $30 a month for that, right? Now, with that being said, I would like to have a conversation with your higher ups there, present them what we're doing, and then maybe create a partnership, not only nationally, but potentially internationally, because we are an international organization. So we can create food centers all over the world. I think that would be a very great partnership between the two of us. And the advantage for the actual church body itself is that through partnering with us, if the head pastors of each church are basically positioned to where they're signing up their congregation, the pastors of the church, the head pastors of the church, will receive funding from our community in the form of commissions, essentially. So we profit share the commissions with the people that bring on members to our community organization. Does that make sense to you?
That makes sense, but we're structured a little different than most churches. Most pastors here make enough just to get by, and that's not because the church leaders are evil. It's just that they want to make sure that the people who sign up to talk to people about the word of God are very serious about it. So even if we got commissions, we wouldn't be able to hold on to them. We'd have to pass them over. Excuse me. we'd have to pass them over to the headquarters and overseas, and we'd have to get their okay in order to do that.
Yeah, that's
And
fine.
we can't make our individual decisions for each branch.
Yeah, for sure, that's completely fine. Like I said, we'll talk to your higher ups there, the overseas branch, and I'll present them the full offer from bottom to top, so they have every piece of information they need to make that decision there. But what I'm really saying is not for the pastors to make an income, but actually to finance the church operations themselves. Um, that funding could be for the intention of financing church operations themselves, and different things that you need to do for the church. And I personally, I think that would be beneficial for the church. We'll talk to the overseas branch and determine how we would structure that and everything like that, and go from there. But just based off of what I've heard, what I've said to you so far, do you think your overseas people there, your administrators, would be interested in learning more about what we're doing?
Well, to be honest, in the main country where this church comes from, it's we do a lot of charity work. We have our own hospitals, we have our own children's schools, but I think we could improve on how much we serve God by helping people. But to be honest, I just have one question if you have the time.
Sure. What is that?
How do you make it possible to be able to build distribution centers and give people like a discount on buying their food? Where do you,
So
if you don't mind me asking, where do you get the funds to do that?
we're actually operating at a profit loss, but we're financed by a private community. It's a global community. And the intention of this global community is economic development. So this food campaign is actually just one aspect of what we're doing, right? It's just one aspect of what we're doing. We also have other campaigns we run. We have full on goodwill campaigns, just giving away food at 100%, right? We're not incurring any revenue through that. It's 100% goodwill there. Now, we also have a campaign where we're structuring a private global economy that operates around abundance. Now, to clarify that, we're not a Christian specific community. We welcome all faiths and all people. However, in most faiths in general, most faiths on the planet Earth, right? Most faiths have the opinion and the idea that man and earth were created to be abundant, right? So that's kind of the place we're coming from. We're coming from the place of creating an economic structure of true abundance. So that conversation is a little bit more involved, and there's a lot of aspects to that. So I would like to either give you a full presentation of that, or give that presentation to your higher ups with you also present. That way you can have that understanding, and give you the full information and every piece there. But basically, we are financed by our global community there, and that's how we're able to afford these centers.
Well, to be honest, I think it's best for all intents and purposes, for me to just refer you to the main people who founded and currently manage this church, for you to speak it over with them.
Now, would we be able to schedule a time to have maybe a 5 to 10 minute conversation with them prior to going into setting up the actual meeting itself? That way I can give them some understanding about what they're walking into.
Sure, but in order for that, there's a kind of a hierarchy here, or not really, like more of a organizational type of thing. I could give you the secretary's number, and then you could call the secretary, and they would let them know, and he or she would get back to you with like a specific time to be able to do that.
Okay. Is there any way? Okay, so I would have to go through the secretary there. You wouldn't be able to connect me yourself with the actual individuals, like one of the individuals themselves. I would have to go through the secretary.
Well, for sure, I know the individuals myself, but like on a personal level, but like through this, I can't officially do this. I would probably get in trouble. So I'm for any official kind of business related to the church, since it is considered a nonprofit, like many other churches, since it appears on paper, I have to refer you to the secretary.
No
for
worries.
legal.
So that I'm not calling the secretary kind of out the blue and she has no context of who I am, would you be able to, could we do maybe a group, like a three-way call or something like that, where you introduce me to the secretary so she knows that you referred me to her and everything like that. That way there's some basis of understanding and I'm not just contacting her out of the blue, essentially cold calling her, right? You know what I'm saying? That way there is a foundation there.
Well, to be honest, I appreciate your intentions and all, and you know what? I can do one of two things. I can either let her know that you're coming. I can take down your info. I'm sorry, let her know that you're calling. Take down your info. Um, Tell her what your name is, where you're calling from, brief summary, or I could set up an appointment with her to talk with you.
Yeah, so I'd actually appreciate if you could set up that appointment, and then I'll talk with her and give her a foundational understanding, and then I'll go from there.
Okay.
All right, Pastor Nate, I really appreciate your time. So we'll set up that appointment. I'll follow up with you in like 2 days here. I'll be back around in the area. I'll follow up with you about that appointment. That way I can make the next steps in regards to locking down, our offer with your administrators there overseas.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I hope we can bring it to your local church here and everything like that, and build a food center through your congregation in the local.
All right. Appreciate you. Thank you for your time today, Mr. Hanu.
Alrighty. I'll talk to you later.
All right. God bless.
All right. Yeah. So yeah, I appreciate that because you were you weren't easy, you were difficult. So that was good for me because I had to think on my feet. So I appreciate that. And I guess for you, just coming from your perspective, how did I do?
You did pretty good, and to be honest, I did just what any kind of pastor would do in my church. That's an actual. Sorry, being abroad has kind of given me an accent. Sorry, it's a little weird for me. So yeah, that's actual kind of policy that goes on in my actual church. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, no, that's completely fine. I appreciate that because, there are like international organizations, and then there are, just locally owned churches, and the approach there is different. So that was definitely a good experience. And then I was kind of just thinking on the fly there on how to do that. But all in all, I think so going through that channel of preferring to have the pastor set up the appointment and everything like that, rather than having him give me my information, where it's actually an established appointment, was better than just him giving my information and then going through that process there. That's why I went for that selectively. And that's kind of how I would do that. I'm sure I could sharpen that up and revise and polish that, now that I've done it, at least to that extent. But that's kind of a basic idea there, and that's what that would look like.
Just got a quick question. When you say like when you're operating at a profit loss, how would you explain that?
Well, we're funded, so it's a subsidy. So a subsidy is not operating in profit. A subsidy operates at a profit loss, but it's financed through the community. So that's how that works.
All right.
Essentially, it's like a donation, right? A subsidy. When you subsidize something, you donate it, essentially.
Exactly, donated. It's more just funding. So it's funded by some third party. A subsidy is funded by a third party to finance an operation. So that's kind of how that looks. But all right, so I gotta